Hey there again. I just decided, according to certain responses I got, still combing on the clips that I made of the historical and original modes of Jewish prayer regarding prostration, vowing, all this. I'd like to make a few clarifications in connection to that. A lot of people apparently thought that I was copying Muslims, or that that is very similar to Muslims and that this is problematic. Alright, first of all, I get the feeling that most people who watched the clip and made responses, possibly everybody in general, they just watched the clip, what I was doing, and didn't put much attention to the various annotations, notes, references that I gave. I don't know how many actually looked them up, but I think if you looked them up, or actually at least read the annotations, that would do away with a lot of the misunderstandings or confusion. I'd also like to make a few other points. I was not bowing, although it doesn't bother me really if I bowed or prayed similar to Muslims, if this is what if this is what the Torah instructs us to do, if this is what is the historical Jewish teaching, I don't mind. I can give numerous examples of all sorts of different practices that various religions do, that the Jewish people in general are also doing today, that though they all, just about all do it, has no basis in Talmudic law or in the Torah, and they apparently don't have any problem with doing it. So it doesn't bother me if I do something that may be a little bit similar to other religions, which few Jews are doing, but I'm doing it not because of those other religions, but because this is what, from my research, I'm convinced, until someone shows otherwise, that this is the original and accurate teaching of the sages of Israel, Hazal, and the way of Torah, the guidance of the Almighty to the people of Israel and for the world. Some of the differences between the way I was bowing and the way Muslims bow is that, one, it's my impression, though I may be wrong, that Muslims, well, not just my impression, from what I've seen, there are always exceptions, that most Muslims throughout the world, when they bow, they go down upon their hands, with their hands to the sides of their head, intentionally, and their forehead must touch the ground. I don't know if you can really see so well in the clip that I made, but one, my forehead wasn't exactly making direct contact with the ground. It was kind of like around here. Even that's not absolutely necessary, as I indicated in the annotations. Also, I did not put my hands specifically to the sides of my head through every time that I bow. If I did do so, it was simply a spontaneous action, not an action based upon other religious beliefs or whatever. In fact, I'm sure that there are certain people, certain religions which bow and don't put their hands to the sides of their head. Could go on and on. The main point is that the Jewish people are prohibited from copying the practices of the nations, but if for practical reasons a person happens to do a certain action which is similar or even the same as another religion, not with intention of copying that religion, and the act doesn't contradict any Jewish law, any halakha, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, am I not going to eat at a certain time of the day because Muslims also eat generally at that certain time of the day? Am I not going to stand during the Amidah, which means standing, because Muslims also usually stand during their prayer? It's just nonsense. By the way, there are an increasing number of Messianics, Christians, who identify with the Jewish people, or Jews who became Christians but retain certain Jewish practices, who actually put on tefillin, the boxes containing the biblical declaration of the Almighty's unity and the unification of our intentions in serving Him, in these little black leather boxes on our biceps and on our forehead. There are an increasing number of Messianics who are putting these on. So should the Jewish people stop observing this law directly from the Torah just because people who, from a Torah perspective, are considered heretics or idolaters for worshiping a human being are doing so? I don't think so, because in the end of the day, if we were consistent in this practice, we ourselves would be violating the Torah by taking away from the commandments of the Torah, and in the end we'd be left with nothing. We should be happy when the non-Jews learn from us, so long as they first pick up the most essential and important laws which are already applicable on them, and that is the laws of Noah, most essentially idolatry, the laws against idolatry, blasphemy, murder, sexual immorality, stealing, eating meat taken from a living animal, and establishing systems of justice, courts of justice throughout the world to uphold these laws. I may have skipped one or two, I don't recall. Anyway, you can look it up yourself. I've put up plenty of clips on the issue. Another way that the way I was bowing is different from Muslims is that, as far as I'm aware, Muslims never do complete, total prostration on the ground with their hands and feet spread out flat upon the ground. I am aware of other religions which do something similar, though also not exactly the same, among certain groups of Christians in the Greek Orthodox and the Russian Orthodox Church, and also in the Catholic Church during certain types of ordination, and also in Hinduism and Buddhism. There are certain times when they bow down flat like this, but from what I've seen, they usually put their hands straight forward, whereas what I was doing is spreading my hands outward. I'm not going to make a big deal about that, but it's not exactly the same, though I wouldn't really care in any case, because I'm trying to live according to the Torah instruction. I don't care what other people are doing, so long as it doesn't violate what, so long as, I don't care if what I do happens to parallel the actions of other religions, so long as my intention is not to copy those religions, and so long as my actions are not contrary to the divine rulings which it is my intention to uphold